Everyone, and welcome back to Middle Age Gaming. Today is the closest we're going to be getting to Halloween. So, we're going to be talking all about spooky stuff, scary games, horror games, our favorite monsters, that sort of thing. And that's basically it. There's no other theme.
Yeah, so to wrap up, this is gonna be a very short show today. Thank you very
Yep.
much for
yeah,
watching.
right.
No,
Thanks for listening. It's good.
too early.
My favorite thing I was reading the comments, so the Devour, and the first person on Steam to post is, it shows up is Devour These Balls. So there we go.
There you go. Doesn't get more terrifying than that.
If with friends, more fun, but me no friends. Oh, that's a sad story, though.
Well, it's probably because their grammar is no good.
The spelling was bad as well.
How was it?
Yeah.
There's nothing more horrifying than somebody with terrible spelling on the internet. All right. So, moving on, do you guys have any favorite spooky monsters or anything like that from games that struck your fancy? I don't really know how I'm wording this here. But like for example, maybe have you guys seen Prey, where they have the shape-shifting monster that can kind of take on anything like that, or Alien Isolation? You guys have any favorite kind of monstrous creatures? I know that there's tons in Final Fantasy, so you got to have something.
That's a tough
Yeah.
one, but that depends. Alien Isolation is extremely terrifying, and I don't like this beast at all, but it's mythical, so yeah, in a way, it's one of the favorites, but Predator I would prefer
Oh, okay.
to Alien, but otherwise from video games.
What about you, Phil?
In Final Fantasy, the things that annoy me more are the people than the evil villain characters far more than the
This
monsters.
thing is more terrifying than the fans.
Yeah, I know that as well.
Are you talking about the
So
NPCs?
when I try to think of like bad things from Final Fantasy, I just can't get my head around
Or any game.
the boy who's the sister is just as evil, and he ends up being just as annoying in the last expansion.
Alphino and Alice?
No, they're good guys.
Yeah, I was
Bad
like,
guy.
what? A bad guy
The
brother
bad
and
guy, the
sister
bad guy.
combo.
Is he the brother? I don't know. Maybe it's not. I always thought it was the brother. For the girl who has her memory wiped and she ends up walking around with the big brutish guy. It's one of the trials.
Was it?
Slither, you mean?
Oh, yeah. What was her name? I can't remember. Yeah, the brother. Yeah, the. I remember when, because Phil got ahead of me when we were playing Final Fantasy 14. He started after me, but then I was just kind of goofing off on trials and whatnot, and Phil was actually burning through the story. And he got to that part, and he described the character as the Joffrey of Final Fantasy 14. He was like, "Oh, you're gonna hate that guy."
Did you?
Yeah, he was kind of a pain. He was a brat. Yeah, I was kind of happy to see him die.
Spoilers, come on.
Oh, come on, no.
Hey, dude, if
There's
you're
gonna
like
be
2
super
years
happy.
behind this.
Yeah, that was 2 expansions
Yeah.
behind at this point.
So I'm just trying to think of, was there anything particularly scary inside Final Fantasy 14?
So for me, I would say, do you guys know of Little Nightmares?
I know
One
of
and
it.
I don't have one particular monster, but the whole set of monsters they have are particularly disturbing. Especially in the number 2, there's this kind of monstrous teacher
Hmm.
who look disgusting at first, but later on when you go, but you have a very tiny character, compared to the monsters. And when you go on the upper floor, you see that she can actually extend her neck. So she wasn't very appetizing at first, but when you see her, extend her neck like, "Arr," and try to look around for you, ah. So this teacher was like, that's a very cool concept, but please. I don't want to go to school anymore.
Yeah, there was
Oh,
a. Oh, go ahead, Phil.
I was going to say, you reminded me. There is actually, now I think about it, there are some things in Final Fantasy 14 that are a bit creepy, and it's Kalka and the other freakish doll-looking thing that you
Oh,
fight and spin
yeah.
around.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Those things freaky. And then in
Dance.
the last expansion, the final boss at the second big raid, where it's the plastic, she just consumes all the plastic dolls into one like massive mega morphed warped doll type thing.
Giant 2P, yeah. If you've played Nier Automata, then that makes a lot of sense. But if you haven't, then it's like, what is happening? What is this? Why are they all naked and why are they merging into a giant ball? Yeah, that's definitely really freaky. For me, I would think, I don't remember what the name of the game. I don't think it was called The Thing, but maybe it was. There was a game on the PS2 that was based off of the movie, the 1982 movie, The Thing. But it wasn't based on that movie. I think it was supposed to be I think you're playing as the Norwegians that kind of predated them. But anyway, it's definitely got the same kind of thing where you're going through, you're fighting the monster, but there's kind of like if you've played, I think was it Amnesia that has the sanity meter, or Alone in the Dark that has the insanity. Yeah, so they have the insanity meter, but in this one it's kind of a trust meter, and the thing can infect different characters, and every time you play it, it'll be different. So you can't determine who it's necessarily going to be. I think there are some that are always going to be infected, but other ones it'll be random. And so you kind of have to actually do like tests every now and then to test who's still human and who's not. Or else the other people will start to distrust each other and it can cause a bunch of trouble. And so that one was definitely weird and freaky and kind of had an atmosphere. And but again, it's one of those things where, going back and playing it on the PS2 now, I think it would be like, but at the time it was like, oh my God, this
Yeah,
so
it
weird.
must be dated by now.
Yeah,
I think there's
unfortunately.
a fair chunk of games like this. I think like Duke Nukem as well. At the time when I used to play the original Duke Nukem 3D, that was a bit freakish and a bit weird. And I always remember it just because coming of age, sort of like game, and you could go into the strip joint, you could go around sort of like the hookers and give them the money and stuff. But there was something like freakishly dark about all of those as well, like Doom as well. Those type of games that were sort of just everything was dark and grim, and you were kind of back then. There was like a little bit of an air about, but nowadays you'd probably play something like that and just be like, you'd just walk right through it probably without paying a second thought to anything.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think
So there's definitely been a game. There's been a change in our perception of what we consider to probably be like a freakish element in a game.
Do you think there's a bit of a Lovecraftian element in that, and that with if you read the stories of the Cthulhian mythos or whatever, when you read the stories, they give you these kind of vague descriptions, so your mind kind of has to fill in the blanks, but it can't fully fill in the blanks, and that's what makes it freaky. And then when you put it on movie, and when you put it in a movie form, it doesn't really translate as well. You think that actually is kind of true with some of those older games where the graphics were kind of so bad that our brains kind of had to fill in some of it, and whereas now with the higher graphical fidelity, it's less ambiguous. And I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. Or it could just be age. It could be sensitivity and age as well. I think probably play a huge factor. I think you just become more conditioned to what's scary. Whereas back then, as badly pixelated as a monster would be, you was still like, oh wow, that's pretty weird. That's pretty freakish.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't know. I think it would have to be pretty extreme for most people to even raise an eyebrow. Just be like, oh, that's different. You've just seen it all
No,
before.
I agree. Like, do you remember the very first Resident Evil when this corridor you pass through and all the dogs pass through the window?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was like terrified. When you look at it now, it's like big pixels. It's really ugly. So you're scared of that. I used to be. Yeah, no, I'm ashamed, but yeah, I used to be scared of this big pixel.
That's one thing I've kind of noticed with Bloodborne, where I'm running through and I'll see like a big open field and I'm like, boss is coming, or you see like a certain corridor and you see like a door on the side and you're like, yep, something's gonna smash through that. Like you can see it coming a mile away a lot of times. We've been kind of in tune with that. I've still gotten some jump scares out of it, but yeah, definitely you can tell certain times that something is coming. So all right, so ooh, dude, I have to close that.
Which I think is the same in movies as well. I think you have the same nowadays.
Yeah.
Where you just become so. The more you watch and the more things you get used to, it's like okay, you can almost predict. As soon as you get like a feel, once you're past like the open, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and you know exactly how the director sort of like writes and their style, then you can kind of pretty much predict every stage at which something weird is going to happen. Even sometimes nowadays, I can even predict like it's going to be one of those tense moments, but nothing is going to happen. And you're like, oh no, I think it's a bit too soon from where we had something scary. So I think probably this time it's just going to be like a Willie. Oh no, there isn't anything there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just playing with the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And they open the door, and it's just like their friend. Like, oh, hello, it's you. You're like, oh, okay.
yeah, we watched a
And
movie
then they
with my
turn
wife
around and
sometimes.
there's supposed to be nothing, and
Yeah, I'll be watching a movie with my wife sometimes, and you get to that, and then you just say something, and then the character says the exact same thing, and you're like, called it. Like you can even predict the script. It gets that cliche.